Democratic Senator Joe Manchin doesn't give a damn about democracy. By now, you probably heard that he will be voting against the For the People Act. So now that is H.R. 1. That is a bill that would require states to implement certain election reforms to actually make voting easier, which would include early voting, no excuse absentee balloting, automatic same day voter registration, would also restore voting rights to ex felons, making it harder to purge voter rolls, among many other things. It also includes, of course, ways to combat money in politics. And so there's a lot of things in there that, look, a lot of politicians on the right are not in favor of. And apparently, Joe Manchin is one of those people. So now, voting rights is incredibly important. I don't think I have to tell you that. Very important, which is why they are under assault in many states and could impact and disenfranchise millions of voters, most of them, of course, being brown and black. Now, in an opinion piece, however, published in the Charleston Gazette Mail, Manchin defends his decision and also attacks the voting rights bill and suggested that he would only support legislation that is quote unquote bipartisan. So here we go. He said this: I believe that partisan voting legislation will destroy the already weakening binds of our democracy, and for that reason, I will vote against the For the People Act. You do realize that Republicans hate voting, right? They admitted that they hate voting. They don't want more people to vote. In fact, in the 1980s, the godfather of the modern conservative movement, Paul Weyrich, and I always go back to this because it is the most honest that you could ever see a Republican. He admitted that, no, I don't want more people to vote. We don't want more people to vote. Why? Because the more people vote, the less chance we have of winning. Well, because we know, and this is not exactly what he said, but I'm just going to kind of extrapolate from that. They know that their policy positions are unpopular. They know that they only serve the rich, they serve the donors, as well as, of course, the racists in their base. And so they're not at all interested in expanding voting, especially to people of color. And so it's pretty explicit. If everybody had a chance to vote, black people especially, then yes, Republicans would continue to lose. And of course, Trump himself, one of the most also honest and open statements, had also come out and said, well, look, hey, if we have some of the things in H.R. 1, expand voting, well, then a Republican would never win office again. Well, yeah, unless, of course, the Republican Party, and here's the thing, the Republican Party as it exists now, which is basically reactionary, undemocratic, racist, as well as working only for the donors and the rich, well, of course they wouldn't win an election. They would actually have to change into a party that actually reflects America, the majority of America, in order to win elections. They don't want to do that because they have essentially painted themselves into an ideological corner and continue to go with the most further right of their base, which gives them money and guaranteed votes. Why would they? Then they would have to not have all the money flow to the donors. They wouldn't be able to trick people anymore. So they obviously have to stay with this, with the base that they have now, because they have nowhere else to go. Nowhere else to go. All right. Anyway, so now look, Joe Manchin appears to be defending the Republican Party, giving them cover. Now, why would you be defending Republicans, Joe? Unless you are one. I mean, again, that's the only reason you would be against expanded voting. You want Republicans to essentially be able to cheat their way into power so that Democrats will never get a majority, and so that Republicans will continue to kiss your ass. Democrats will continue to kiss your ass because you are suddenly finding yourself in a position of power. He is in the best place that he could ever be. And of course, he doesn't want to give that up. Of course not. But understand that suppression is cheating. It is putting roadblocks in the way for certain people that don't affect other people so that your side wins more. And of course, as I've explained, the reason that you would cheat is because you can't win anymore, not with your current platform, not with your current numbers. And the way, of course, that our representation works is also broken. But not only does he not want more people to vote, Manchin also doesn't think we should end the filibuster. Quote, for as long as I have the privilege of being your U.S. Senator, I will fight to represent the people of West Virginia, to seek bipartisan compromise, no matter how difficult, and develop the political bonds that end divisions and help unite the country we love. Congressional action on federal voting rights legislation must be the result of both Democrats and Republicans coming together to find a pathway forward, or we risk further dividing and destroying the republic we swore to protect and defend as elected officials. Again, Republicans don't want you to vote. They've already tried to destroy the republic. Do you not remember what happened on January 6th? And to see all these Republicans afterward try to downplay it? They've already tried. They already want to destroy the republic. That's it. You only don't see it because you don't want to. And again, you want everybody to kiss your ass both left and right. You call yourself a centrist, but really, you're an enabler for the far right. And obstruction. The stop the steal people. Okay? The people who spread the big lie and have used it to make it harder to vote. That is who Joe Manchin is helping today. That is who they're covering for. That is why he is destroying democracy. And of course, there's a big reason why. But first, the bill, when given an overview, has wide support from mainly all across the political spectrum. In some polls, there's even 80% of respondents. Now, of course, there's caveats to that. Of course, obviously, a lot of it has to do with, well, what political party supports what. But generally, when people just straight up say, this is the policy position, without triggering people's team mentality, most people are in favor of like, oh yeah, sure, I love limiting I love the idea of limiting influence of money in politics. Great. I agree. I think we should get the union money out of politics. I think we should get the corporate money out of politics. All the money out of politics. Modernizing election infrastructure. Okay. Increasing election security. Totally fine with that. And look, nonpartisan redistricting commissions, more than 60% of voters responded favorably to that. We have an issue with gerrymandering, and I'm saying both sides actually do gerrymander. Democrats will create safe districts for themselves. Republicans will also do the same. Sometimes they'll get together in these commissions and they'll say, okay, you can have these districts and I'll have this, and we will both be safe. That's a problem that needs to be solved. That's a problem that the American people will look at some of these insane gerrymandered districts and be, what the hell is this? No, we should have things that are better. We should have things that are more representative. We should have districts that are drawn in ways that represent the voters. And that's fair to everybody. Instead of what we have now. Not only that, but most people also support early voting, automatic voter registration, giving everybody the chance to vote by mail. Before this election, voting by mail was not a problem. It was not a partisan thing. Most people were like, oh yeah, vote by mail, totally fine. Because it works in different places. Oregon is a great example of where you had vote by mail for over 10 years. It has worked beautifully, incredibly low, issues with fraudulent ballots and all that. And so it worked then. Only with this last election where everybody lost their mind on the right wing, did we actually have any sort of problems with, mail-in ballots. But all that doesn't matter to Joe Manchin. Why? It's because in this bill, the biggest thing that affects Republican politicians as well as people like Manchin is money. Money in politics specifically. This would limit some money in politics. Now, Joe Manchin loves money in politics. He loves corruption. And again, loves being the center of attention. And he loves being the so-called kingmaker. He's a narcissistic prick, self-involved, and really is only doing anything he can to let Republicans win. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.